their seats, please. No, I'm 1 minute past and I'm already hearing it. That's right. Good evening. Welcome to the February 13th Kent County Board of Commissioners meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask our clerk assistant to call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will start with Commissioner Vonk. Antor. Morgan.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Vice Chair Steck.
Here.
Ponstein. Voorhees.
Present.
Coleman. Breivy.
Here.
Saalfeld.
Here.
Sparks.
Present.
Melton. Hennessy.
Here.
Talon.
Here.
Bukowski. Womack.
Here.
Wooden.
Here.
Skaggs.
Here.
Chair Bolter.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 16 present and 3 absent. Quorum.
Thank you. We're on to invocation and I'll call on Commissioner Antor.
Good evening, everybody. One of my biggest fears since coming on board as a county commissioner is forgetting that I was to do the invocation. And I was reminded on the way down here, and since I don't have the talents of Commissioner Voorhees or Vonk, I thought, okay, what do I do? And so I thought, well, I know at one point, one of the disciples asked Jesus, how do I pray? So that's kind of where I'm at. And Jesus taught the disciples how to pray, and he gave them the Lord's Prayer. So that's what I'm going to go with tonight. And when we get to the point of whether it's trespassers or debtors, we'll go with trespassers, because that's what I'm used to. Okay. So if you'd bow your heads and pray with me, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
On earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Commissioner Antor. We are on to item 5 on the agenda, and I will call up Joseph Janitis to give us an update on the census. Welcome to Kent County.
Yes, thank you. I'm actually from Grand Rapids, so
Awesome.
very happy to be here. Usually I walk around, so sorry if I seem a little static here. My goal will be just to give you a little bit of information about the importance of the census, which you likely know, some operations, and then maybe some things that you can do. So it's going to be a very brief overview. So does anybody know why we're doing the census? Yes, my commissioner, actually. I'm in Heritage Hill.
Want me to answer?
Yes, absolutely. Please.
That was
Why are we
just
doing the census?
a natural response.
That's your commission.
The census is really important at a local point of view because everything from government funding, federal, state, for education, if we're going to get the funds we need for our city, everybody needs to be counted. So don't believe the myths that, this is going to be used any other way. Other agencies just can't get into this information, but it will help us get funded, so you need to be counted.
I missed you. I'm sorry.
Joseph, I'm going to let you know that if you interact with them, they count toward your time.
That's okay. That's okay.
So it's fine.
I appreciate crowd
Just
interaction.
let you know, though.
I appreciate Philippus.
They all like to talk.
So besides funding, of course, we have apportionment of our representatives, electoral college votes for the state, planning information. So as Commissioner Womack said, it's very important. In terms of how the census actually goes about, we have 5 steps. The first step is just what we've already done, identifying residential addresses. Second step is kind of what I'm doing right now. So it's passing out information, giving education, forming partnerships, basically motivating people, priming people to respond to the census. Does anybody know when you can start responding to the census. Hopefully we can get a 10-second answer for this one. Yes?
I believe it's April 1.
It is not April 1, but you can respond on April 1. It is mid-March. So that's when all households, or at least those who are receiving U.S. mail, they'll receive an invitation to respond online or by phone. That self-response will stay open until July 31st, 2020. So we have the fourth step, non-response follow-up. That's when we knock on doors asking people to respond if they haven't responded by the end of April. The last step is just tabulating the data, so putting everything together. Any questions on that, on the steps? Okay. I like to say out loud that people who are going door to door, people who are going to be capturing responses if they're knocking on your doors, they're going to have technology. So it's going to be an online, paperless preference to capture these. It's a little bit more efficient. In terms of making sure that the person at your door is from the census, there are a few resources. For instance, the person will have a census computer, they'll have a census badge. I'd be happy to provide the website where you can look up census workers. So if you have a deep concern that the person at your door is not from the census, you can type in Joe Janitis and you'll find out that I'm working for the United States Census. That website also has information about where you're going to receive your mailer from. I think it's important to know as commissioners that we're not going to be asking for credit card information, social security numbers, driver's license. This is very basic information. We're not going to be sending out emails. We're not going to be sending out QR codes. There's certainly the potential for fraud or scams, and I think it's important to know what exactly we're asking. One thing that we're still working on quite tirelessly in Kent County is to encourage people to work for the census. Currently, we still need about 2,000 individuals to help us with our effort. So it is a significant number. We're about 65% of the way there. So in terms of helping us or helping promote the census, if you have social media, if you want us to come to your organization, for instance, we're happy to help people apply to the census. In Kent County, it's a $20 an hour job. You just need to be 18, no specific work experience. So certainly an opportunity for many individuals, even a high school senior. Does that yellow light mean I have 5 minutes or am I over?
You're at 5.
Okay, very good.
It is sweet.
So part of my job is basically this, talking with people, forming partnerships, working in the community. Many different organizations have formed formal partnerships with the U.S. Census Bureau. You might know that the state of Michigan has formed a state complete count commission. The city of Grand Rapids has formed their complete count committee. Basically, the main purpose of these commissions or committees is to make sure we're counting people. We're not missing people. There are historically undercounted populations, demographics, and I'm reaching out to you all because you are trusted voices, you are leaders, you represent possibly different agencies or have connections with different agencies. For instance, schools, churches, businesses. People look to you and look to those organizations, and if they see, oh, you know, Myers is promoting the census, it must be important. It must be something that I should do, or it certainly isn't a scam. So that's really why I'm here. I think that's the biggest thing in terms of passing that information on whatever you can. If it's in a newsletter, if it's in social media, if it's just word of mouth, that's super important. You may have also seen some billboards around town. I know I have. Some of our partnerships extend into the Michigan Nonprofit Association. Be Counted is their website. They have a lot of good resources as well. And then these are just some of the harder to count demographics. I like to mention that children under 5, for instance, those that demographic was harder to count. We missed about 1 million individuals from 0 to 5 in the 2010 census. So certainly a large number. And that can be because of a variety of reasons. But even our snowbirds. So I have a quick question for you all. If you pay your taxes here in Kent County, but you are going down to Florida for 7 months of the year, where should you be counted?
Florida.
Florida, that's correct.
Yep, that was me.
Thank you, Diane.
Just thought I'd let you know.
Fantastic. Thank you for the quick response, too.
Kennet Township.
What about, let's say you are from Macomb County and you have your kid going to Grand Valley, full-time. Where should they be counted? Their driver's license says Macomb County. Their mail goes to Macomb County. Their parents claim them on their taxes in Macomb County. They're voter registered in Macomb County. Where should they be counted? They pay their insurance too. Everything. Where should they be counted?
Why would you want to be from Macomb County?
So the answer is Grand Valley. The reason is because it's where you reside the majority of the time. So in general, if you can't figure that out, that's April 1st. It's wherever you are on April 1st. But if you can, it's the majority of your time. So if you're a snowbird that's only spending 5 months in Florida and 7 months in Kent County, you should be counted here. And it's passing that information on to that's important. Just briefly, if you're interested, there are lots of interesting maps I'm happy to pass on as well that just show some of the predicted harder to count areas. One of the, this is, I believe, Muskegon County, not Kent County. One of the areas that are harder to count have to do with renters, so that's another harder to count population. A lot of turnover there. That's really all I have. Thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate it.
All right, do we have questions? Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. So the first one that I had is you very quickly shared something along the lines of $20 per hour. Let's circle back to that for just a minute.
Great, yeah.
So is that like every census job, or is it up to $20 an hour?
That is the minimum pay for Kent County. Every job will at least be $20 an hour.
And I looked at your written material, and it says to find out about census jobs, to go to 2020census.gov/jobs. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you, Diane. I appreciate that. It is 2020census.gov/jobs.
I'll be putting that on my social media. And 18 and older, right? That was the other piece?
18 and older.
All
You do
right.
have to be a legal resident to work as
Okay.
well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I was just wondering, you mentioned something interesting, you missed 1 million kids, 5
And under? I guess if we know that, how do we know we missed 1 million? And is there some sort of formula that can be used for people that don't comply, where you kind of take a guess based on non-compliance and things that, you know, jump up every time we do one of these things? Is there a formula that allows you to take a real good best guess?
That's a good question. I don't exactly have the answer for. I do know, at least in terms of making a best guess, the closest when we make a best guess is when we're knocking on doors. Someone's not there, then we might go to a neighbor or perhaps an adjoining apartment and ask them, are you aware of any individual in here? Do you have an idea who they are? So that's when we try to use periphery information.
But do you know how you came up with 1 million?
No, I believe it was using different programs and research outside of the census, but
Okay.
I don't believe they were added in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm just recalling a similar conversation where they were using the American Community Survey data juxtaposed to this to show low response rates in certain census tracts here in Kent County are as low as 30-20%. And looking at this list of hard-to-count demographics, often we've seen there in areas of poverty, communities of color, renters. And so when it comes to the hiring of census workers, is there going to be a prioritization for those who reside within that census tract, who reside near that census tract, to make that personal connection, so there's a higher likelihood of having a pre-existing personal connection, having an ability to get a more accurate count? Is that being valued in the hiring process?
That's an excellent question. Yes, actually, the first place that individual, the priority for that individual to work is going to be in their neighborhood where they are from. So that's, yes.
Any more? Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I happen to be on the Census Committee, so I just want to add that I think it's excellent being on the committee, being on the inside, getting a chance to see all the outreach that was done into communities of colors, including for the different languages. When we think of bilingual, we think about, the Spanish and English, but finding out we have over 22 languages here. We have a lot of people from overseas, whether it's Europe, but Africa, all over, and it's just a lot of work that's going into this, and I think the mayor put a great census committee that's really reflective of the city of Grand Rapids, but also at our committee, we had people from other counties that were there, and just different parts of Kent County that were there, so it was a great time to see all of us come together to work together to make sure everybody's counted so we can be represented politically, as well as when it comes to the monies that's coming back into it, the influx of this community in this county. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I can certainly second the efforts by the city of Grand Rapids and Mayor Bliss. They've had a very big impact in Grand Rapids and outside. And just to mention the languages, there's language guides in 59 languages, as well as Braille and large print. So that's also available at Census, 2020census.gov.
Commissioner Kallman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given the potential for an app to fail at tabulating data, are there any concerns with that as part of the whole census process?
So you gave me a good opportunity to kind of clarify something, that there is no app, but it is a website. So hopefully that makes it a little bit better. Obviously, anything's possible for failing, but I know this has been tested numerous times to try to make sure that it's both secure and working.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for taking the time tonight. I just had one question. Two things, actually. One, I just kind of wondered the same thing, cybersecurity and all of that. And then also, could you provide our communications director with some sort of post that we could then all put out so that we can, okay, perfect.
I'd be happy to do that. We have some pre-made messages, and I know the city of Grand Rapids has some more customized
Great.
things as well.
Okay. And we do already have some of it on our website, so
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We
Yep.
do appreciate it.
thank you. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you all for your time as well.
All right, we are on to public comment related to agenda items only. Anyone in the audience want to come address the commission on agenda items? All right, seeing none, we are on to consent agenda, and I'll call on Commissioner Antor.
I'd like to move the consent agenda.
Moved by Commissioner Antor, support by Commissioner Breivy. Questions or comments on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call. Mr. McCumber, please call the roll.
On the consent agenda, Commissioners Vonk, Antor,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioner Ponstein,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Kallman,
Yes.
Breivy,
Yes.
Salfeld,
Yes.
Sparks, Melton, Hennessy, Talon,
Yes.
Bulkowski, Womack,
Yes.
Wooden,
Yes.
Skaggs,
Yes.
Chair Bolger.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 16 yeas, 0 nays. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you. We're on to item 7, resolutions, and I'll call on Commissioner Breivy.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I'd like to move Resolution 21320, number 16, the Grand Rapids Lead Hazard Control Community Develop Grant appropriation from the Health Department.
Moved by Commissioner Breve, support by Commissioner Hennessy. Questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing none, this is not a roll call. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. We are on to, 7B. Now call on Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move adoption of Resolution 17 of today's date to accept the Kent County Community Action Budget Amendment. It comes to us from Kent County Community Action.
Moved by Commissioner Wooden. Support by Commissioner Steck. Questions or comments on this issue? All right, seeing none, this is again not a roll call. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. We are on to 7C, and I will call on Commissioner Sparks.
I'd like to move Resolution 213-2018, today's date, Chief Hazy Cloud Park Acquisition, the Parks and Rec Department, I'm sorry, not Parks and Rec.
We know what you mean. We got you. Parks Department. Moved by Commissioner Sparks, support by Commissioner Jones. Questions or comments? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call. Mr. McCumber, please call the roll.
All right, resolution number 18 of today's date. Commissioner Vonk. Antor.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck.
Yes.
Commissioner Ponstein.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Breve.
Yes.
Saalfeld.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Melton. Hennessy.
Yes.
Talon. Yes. Bukowski. Womack.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Skaggs.
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes,
Madam Chair, you have 16 yeas, 0 nays. The resolution is adopted.
thank you. We are on to item 8. This is public comment related to any general county matter. Have any public comment today? Come on up, state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Scott Atchison. Pretty efficient, 6:23, and you're already on public comment. But basically, I'm here to try to convince you guys, make a compelling argument of why we need an information booth downtown. You know, right at Pearl and Monroe. And I'll come back to why it's got to be at Pearl and Monroe, because what do we have now? For an information booth, a welcome center, whatever you call it. I'm going to tell you what we have. Whatever you call it, it's inside a gift shop, inside a museum, a block away from the main intersection, and it's closed more than it's open. That does not say welcoming to me. You know, I'm gonna come back to that. I went to Barcelona, Spain last November, and I stayed right by Plaza Catalunya. You walk up there, 2 information booths, staffed with helpful humans, and everybody had a cell phone. But they still need information. I'm not from here. How do you go there? Where you have a movie theater in downtown Grand Rapids? Those are the type of things. You know, I got a couple questions for you. What restaurants are open for Saturday and Sunday at lunch? That's whoever runs this information booth, information center at Pearl and Monroe. That would be their task every day to make like lists of what's open. And basically in an Excel spreadsheet, you turn it into a PDF and then you can scan it into your device or pick it up on any internet connection. So everyone in this room will know what is open downtown. Just downtown. I told the Downtown Development Authority they should put $150,000 and give the money to like Rockford Construction, Orion, or Pioneer to build it. And the Convention and Visitor Bureau should run it every day of the year. Because I'm telling you, what do we have for an information center downtown? Whatever you call it, it's inside a gift shop, inside a museum, a block away from the main intersection, and it's closed more than it's open, and most of you don't even know it's there. I mean, it's, but I'm not saying that Experience Grand Rapids is doing a bad job. I think they're doing a fine job. They're just not doing a complete job. How much time do I got a minute left? Oh, great. Somebody high up in municipal government that I respect said, we like the idea of an information booth downtown and we're thinking about implementing it when we redo the river. I'm saying anywhere along the river is the wrong location. Pearl and Monroe. And I do have a picture. There used to be an information booth that said free tourist information right in front of the McKay Tower. You know, but, you know, I'm going to end it here, but I still think the Downtown Development Authority should fund the construction of it. And the Convention and Visitor Bureau should run it. And what I want to do is create the best information booth in this country for Grand Rapids, downtown. Export it to other cities, because what we have now, it's inside a gift shop. Why would you have an information center inside a gift shop? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Good evening, Dan Burrell, 2879 Barkoff Drive, Southwest, Wyoming, Michigan. I'm a current city council member for the city of Wyoming, and I have filed for the District 8 seat of Harold Voorhees. And along with that, I would just like to thank our four commissioners that are here tonight that represent either all or a portion of Wyoming. Commissioner Sparks, Ponstein, Voorhees, which is all of Wyoming, and Coleman. Again, I appreciate you representing the city of Wyoming, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment today? Going once, going twice. All right, we are gonna move on to item 9, commissioner reports. Any official reports today? Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did have a strategic planning session for the airport this afternoon. It went from about noon to 3:30. And I'd just like to report that just for the month of January, we're up 18%. So when we're trying to look at 10-year trends, we found that we're hitting a lot of our milestones in 3 and 3.5 years. So we're really trying to condense that and make sense of it. But we know that this kind of growth probably won't continue at this pace, but we're recognizing that we're in a very growth mode at the airport.
Great. Commissioner Breivy.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I have a couple quick things about DPW. The first, you may have heard there's going to be a shutdown at the recycling center, and that's just to install some paper screens. And that will start February 21, and it goes through March 13. And the department is asking you to hold on to your recyclables. Your hauler will still pick them up, but they would not go to the recycling center. So if you want to continue recycling during that time, just hold on to it, and your hauler will pick it up again at the end of that term. And you all have received a little brochure at your desk, too, about the recycling center. You can see some statistics, and you can see where a lot of our recycling goes. So there's some good information in there. The next item, too, is we have formed an advisory committee, and the purpose of that is to provide recommendations, overview, feedback, and continue working on our 2030 solid waste management plan. And we have a great bunch of people that are willing to be on it. So we have Mayor Bliss, Mayor Kepley from Kentwood, and a representative from the Wyoming DPW. We have Commissioner Bukowski, Wayman Britt is on it. I am part of it as well. We have Supervisor Mike DeVries and Rob DeWard. And we have Rockford City Manager Thad Beard. And then we're also working on a member from the business community, and the right place is helping us determine that. So looking forward to getting this great bunch of people together to talk about trash. So thanks for the opportunity.
Great. Go from Bonk talking trash to you talking trash. That's good. Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. The Grand Rapids DDA met yesterday. 3 things of note that I'd like to share with you. One, hopefully you've seen some publicity about the planned improvements to the plaza of the Fernando Arena. Kind of cool stuff. What I think is also exciting is that's one of 3 pieces to that complete project. The second one, which I think is as important, is improvements to the alleyway to the east of the Fernando Arena, which also is kind of a gateway between the arena and the theater to the south. So there's lots of potential for what could happen in that alleyway, and taking it one step at a time, beginning with this front area. Second is, I think I mentioned this last month, but we've taken another step, and we'll be appointing a committee to look at what to do with the land around the YMCA downtown. A lot of that is owned by the DDA, including the parking lot. There's also a city lot that's owned there, a fair amount of property. And the DDA has always acquired that property with the intent of developing it eventually. And this is some of the last vacant land that's left in the downtown area. So really important to be strategic about that. We intend to do a process similar to what happened with the Arena South area that ended up with some of the development that you see there now. Those appointments will be happening, I believe, in the next month. And the third thing is, I don't know if you've ever noticed, and I'm a guy, so I guess I didn't notice, but almost all the streets in Grand Rapids and probably other places have male names. And that apparently jumped out at a few folks, and some of the DDA, the DGRI staff have decided to try to do something about that, and what they decided to do was do some alley activation, which we don't have a lot of here in Grand Rapids, but to really redo some alleys, make them inviting places, places where people will go, and name them after significant women in the history of Grand Rapids. It sounds a little weird, but it's really ends up being a pretty empowering thing. I'll send some information about it, and I'm getting some looks, and hopefully those will change after you see it.
From the females.
That's actually how I looked when I first heard it too.
Great idea, we're gonna name alleys.
It's a start, it's a start. And last thing, we heard at the end a request from a citizen about building an information booth downtown that has helpful humans in it to provide information. So thank you for your.
Good. Commissioner Coleman.
Just a quick update, the Agricultural Preservation Board's started meeting. Just want to shout out to Matthew Van Zetten for, what, in my opinion, a very successful hiring process for the new role in the administrator's office to that end. And a lot of, that you'll see in the next few weeks, a lot of really interesting and good kind of start of work to aggregate and map and display in a visual way all of the various data that'll be so useful for planning and helping all the various parties that plan, that'll keep, you know, development and economic growth going, while also keeping in mind long-term considerations of open space.
Great. Any other official reports tonight? All right, seeing none, we are on to miscellaneous. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Lori and Wayman. So a Kent County resident contacted me today. He works with a lot of senior groups and thought it would be helpful to have on our main accesskent.com website the update on the coronavirus, because he said he gets questions all the time. He's searching for those updates, and he said in the event we do have something significant, knowing that that's there right front and center will make it very easy to communicate any additional updates or changes. And I'm glad that that's there, so thank you, Lori, for doing that. And he really appreciated the prompt response. So even though government does have a reputation for sometimes being slow, the fact that this happened at 12:30 today and it was done by 5 o'clock, I think is a nice little feather in our cap for government can move efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. First, I just want to start out this past week. We had the SPART meeting, which brought county commissioners from all across Southwest Michigan. Want to thank Pam and her staff for getting everything ready and arranged. It's easy just to tell people what we would like to see it done was great. I want to thank DeVos Place for hosting it, the meal that was provided. I also want to thank Gus Weiler of the Sports Commission and Doug Small of Experience Grand Rapids that showed and talked to the county commissioners throughout the region on what the importance of tourism and our sports commission and how we reach out, not just to Kent County, but to other counties throughout West Michigan. I also want to give a shout out to the Ford Museum that hosted a tour. One of their historians sat down and chatted with us for a while. So it was all in all a good day, and Wayman, I just want to thank you and your staff for everything they did to make that a success. Also, across my email the other day, I know the recycling center has brought this issue up before, and I've been keeping an eye on it. House Bills 5422 and 5425 have been introduced by Rep. Brant Eden out of Kalamazoo. This is a bill that divides up on how the money for recycled bottles that have been paid the deposit but was never returned. They want to divide that money up into 4 different ways this time. 20% going to distributors, 25% to retailers, 15 to bottle enforcement, and then the other 40 to go to cleanup and the trust fund. I know recycling centers across the state of Michigan collect a lot of these bottles in our systems. They've also often advocated if we're collecting it, we should be at least at the table to get a portion of that money. We're not asking for all of it. A lot of the systems can easily tell you exactly how many we've taken in through recycling at a cost to taxpayers and then not get reimbursed. So if you want to just give your reps a shout on these two, they've just been introduced, but I think it's at least a fair question for them to ask why recycling centers aren't part of this distribution of the money that's never been given back. Thank you.
Commissioner Voorhees?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few weeks ago, somebody posted about suitcases that children and folks who sometimes end up in care have to put their possessions in a plastic garbage bag, and how much more efficient and for them and a little more dignified was if people who have extra suitcases, if they would bring them to, so I'm wondering, they asked me, Harold, where would I bring it? And I said, I got to find out. So any input you might have as to places where people can, and they just happened, I said, Joanne, you know, we got 6 suitcases. We don't need 6 suitcases. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody who's maybe in that transition had a suitcase? And so I'm just looking for information.
I think
where
Matthew's on it already. I see him clicking his pen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Find it. All right, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I wanted to mention that last weekend I had the pleasure of joining Second Ward Commissioners Jones and Isasi and Mayor Bliss for Snowfest 2020 at Fulton Heights Neighborhood Association. And I brought that up because I had the pleasure of being invited by our new Ag Preservation staff member, Mr. Matthew Channing, who is a resident of Fulton Heights. And he and his colleagues put on a great event, and thankfully there was actually snow on Snowfest. I also had a question that arose while I was reading this presentation one more time regarding the census. Seeing so many of these hard-to-count demographics also being people we often interact with through our multiple departments, have we worked to integrate the census work within these departments so that those who come to our health clinics, our human service office, our veteran services agency have access to fill out the census there and in fact could make that available to them while they're procuring our services?
I believe we have, but I will confirm and get back with you.
Thank you.
Any other miscellaneous? Commissioner Salfeld?
Thank you, Chair. A few weeks back, or a few meetings back, Commissioner Talon was talking about how long it's been that he served on the board, and it made me realize that I'm now one of the old timers. I think but for a few of you, and of course Scott, no one else was around back when I started on January 1st of 2011. But if you haven't seen it, I did put out a press release today, and I've made it known publicly for a long time now that this was going to be my last term. I've had some very positive opportunities come up with work that is just going to make it very difficult for me to make additional meetings after March. And so I've decided to step down effective March 15th. I've informed our chair and Wayman Britt, so I'll still be here for another month, but after that, I'll only be seeing you if I'm sitting in the row over there, maybe with Scott or something. So, but I'll save comments for my last meeting, but just wanted to make you aware of that. Very happy to go out on the note that we're on, because as I said in my press release today, I do think that Kent County is doing the best it's ever done right now. So I'm very pleased about that. Thank you.
Any other miscellaneous today? All right, I just have 2 quick things. Want to remind you, our next meeting is the 27th, and we do have a board retreat after board. And I got the agenda from Wayman on Monday, and it's a lot. So I think we're gonna be pretty productive, I hope, at that meeting. It's a lot of stuff to discuss for the upcoming year, so I hope you can make the board retreat. And then secondly, I just wanna get this out there as soon as possible. Commissioner Soffeld did call me this afternoon to give us a heads up. I immediately asked him to call Linda. I guess lucky for me and for our board, we've been through this before a little bit. I think Commissioner Jones and I are a product of this process. So, Linda provided me with a couple of talking points I just wanted to share. If March 15th is the date, we by law have 30 days to fill this position, which would make it April 13th. The county will issue a news release next week detailing the process to fill the vacancy and how you would apply for the position. So I would expect to look for that and then get that out to the community. The application window will be 2 weeks because we still have to get it through executive committee and through full board. Unfortunately, if April 13th is the 30-day deadline, we don't have a board meeting that beginning part of April scheduled. So we will have to get it done in March. Per standing rules 5.2D, the executive committee is required to evaluate the candidates and make a recommendation to the full board of commissioners. The full board of commissioners will consider the recommendation and the final appointment will be done by resolution. The entire process is subject to the Open Meetings Act. So with that, if there is nothing else, I will call on Commissioner Antor for motion to adjourn. Retreat. Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Antor. Support by Commissioner Sparks. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.